What's up, everyone? Dave from Fan Futsal here, going to give a rapid match recap for the Seattle versus Houston Western Conference Finals second leg match that just finished. Seattle 3-0 victory at home, 5-0 on aggregate. They looked dominant throughout. So going to give my analysis, what I thought before the match, first half, second half, and in conclusion. So before the match, I thought it was going to be really tough on Houston. Noah Lease was a big deal. And then they also lost Kyoto, who was apparently sick. So right off the bat, they're in a big hole. They're already down 2-0 on the road. And so to start with those players not being there, you knew it was going to be tough for them. Seattle not having Torres, didn't know how that would impact them. Ultimately didn't impact them whatsoever, but I know they've been undefeated, I believe, since him and Marshall have been paired in the center of defense. And didn't know if Houston was going to be able to take advantage of that, but they ultimately weren't able to. So that was something I was looking out for. Didn't see how Houston gets back in this at all. Fry being back in Houston's lineup, in Seattle's lineup was good to see. I know he's been the #1 keeper all year. I still wasn't clear if he was injured last week, sick, or if that was there's no way it was a coach's decision. So it was just good to see him back. Svensson at center back was an interesting choice for Seattle. Didn't see a ton of them this year, but I don't know if that was who they used as center back when I believe Torres was hurt earlier in the year, but that was weird and sort of interesting for me to see. I didn't know if Seattle was going with a 3-5-2 or some sort of variation. Ultimately, Svensson just played as a legit center back and did a fantastic job. It was just something I really wasn't expecting. And I was looking for Houston to maybe get an early chance and sort of make the crowd nervous, because when a big crowd is there, they can be very supportive of the home team. But if you can, as the road team, get them, nervous or score an early goal, it can really upset the entire balance of Seattle. Weren't able to do that, but I was looking for Houston to see if they could do that. First half started, both teams were kind of sloppy early. They were both kind of nervous and trying to force things, and they were pretty sloppy. I thought Sanchez for Houston was involved throughout the first half. He was all over the place and was much more involved than Manotas at center striker. He was, though, not as physical, and Seattle was just kind of bodying him off the ball. He did have a couple good plays where he was able to maintain his balance, but Seattle was very physical with him, and he ultimately did a good job given his stature and given what he was asked. But that was something that I noticed. Seattle was falling back into pretty much just a straight flat 4-4-2. Nothing really crazy defensively that they were doing with their formation, just like standard sort of formation. Seattle was in offense playing some quick interchanges and exchanging the ball very, very nicely. They were doing that throughout the first half. I thought Houston started better in the first couple minutes, and then Seattle really kind of settled down, took control of the match, and remained dominant pretty much throughout the half. Dempsey played higher, almost just as a second forward right next to Will Bruin throughout this match. Last week in the first leg, him and Lodero floated underneath Bruin and were much more sort of interchanging. But this week, Dempsey just played up top, center striker, and was in more of a free role than Bruin, but really was playing a lot closer to him up top. And Lodero, meanwhile, was dropped more into a #8 role, and he did fantastically well in that. I always thought of him as more of a #10 type player, but I know he's been playing more #8, and he did really, really well there. Houston attacking. They just could not get men in the box, and I don't know if it was a tactical thing, if it was due to Kyoto being out or what, but they just didn't look right the entire half. They didn't look like they were on the same page. Not enough men were getting forward, or when they were getting forward, they were getting in each other's way, and they were either getting all overloaded on one side and getting in each other's way, or they were getting isolated and there would be one guy with no support. So I thought that they didn't look cohesive, and they didn't look like they had a plan and were executing that plan very well throughout the half. On Seattle's first goal, Bruin played fantastic throughout the game, specifically on their first goal. He had tried a couple flicks and back heels before that and wasn't successful. So when he went to go make the pass that he made, I didn't know how successful it was going to be, but it was fantastic. That sort of step back, reverse, outside of the foot through ball, incredible from him. He was great center forward for Seattle throughout. Seattle just throughout the half and throughout the match really looked just better balanced, more cohesive. They had better spacing. They were making more supportive runs, and they just looked like a better team than Houston, who just looked disjointed throughout the match. And so Seattle did a really good job of just having kind of coherent attacks or really dangerous runs, and they were really effective at that. In the 36th minute, I thought Nuhu was just really, really it was just not a smart play from him to take that yellow for time wasting. It ultimately didn't amount to anything. But as Houston, being on the road and being down, you're looking for any sort of advantage that you can get. And being the home team, being up, he knew who didn't need to make that time wasting play in that moment. And it was just stupid from him. Ultimately didn't amount to nothing, but you know, that was fortunate for him because it could have amounted to something. In the 40th minute, Houston finally put together a somewhat coherent attack with interchanging play. It didn't amount to anything, but I thought that was good from them, and they needed more of that, and they just didn't get that throughout the match. Seattle still have not conceded a goal. That was, you know, they're on an incredible run. I heard Alberg, Philadelphia Union player, was the last one to score against them in early October. So they've been fantastic. Second half, for whatever reason, I'm watching on the ESPN stream. It missed the first 3 minutes. So I don't know what happened in the first 3 minutes. If anything happened and I didn't cover it, that's why. Boniek Garcia came on for Eric Alexander for Houston. Boniek's is more of a wide player, and Eric Alexander was a central player. Didn't know how that was going to work tactically for Houston. Didn't really amount to much anything anyways, because Seattle got another goal pretty quickly. And then, you know, the red card happened, which I'll get to in a minute. Seattle's fourth goal, really, really patient play from, I believe, Rodriguez in the middle of the field to let that space open up and let that run sort of develop from Jones out wide. And Jones hit that smart ball right across to Dempsey, controlled it on the turf really, really well. And that was fantastic from them. Smart of Seattle to immediately withdraw Dempsey after that. You know, he's an injury sort of risk, and I know he's been fighting some things. So to get him some extra rest was a really smart play. Torres came on for Sanchez, probably a little bit too late. I thought Torres for Houston probably needed to come on a little bit earlier. Sanchez, while he was effective at getting the ball, he wasn't overly. I mean, he had some dangerous moments, but Houston just needed to mix it up, and I thought that they waited too long to make that change. On the red card for Houston, absolutely 100% red card. I don't know what Healy and Twellman were watching or were seeing. I mean, Martinez had no business shoving, I don't even remember the player's name's head just into the ground. I don't know what they were looking at, but that was 100% a red card for me. And again, Jovan Jones doesn't need to get involved there. Like I was saying before with Nuhu, Jones just don't get involved. You know, ultimately just got the yellow card, which is fine, which is lucky for Seattle, but him getting involved there, you just don't need to do it. You're up at that point 4-0 on aggregate. Anything to give Houston some sort of momentum is dumb for you to do, especially if you can control it. So he needed to do better there. After the red card, thought Seattle just needed to get out of the match. No suspensions, so no red cards, no injuries. They were successful at that. Thought they needed to move the ball quickly and just be smart, and they were successful at doing that throughout the match. Throughout the rest of the match. Fifth goal. Got to give Harry Shipp a shout out. That is such a tough ball. I know Twellman highlighted it as well, but I can't understate how really incredible that pass was. Outside of the foot, perfectly weighted on turf, right into the run of Will Bruin, who had a fantastic finish right after it. But that was just such a pretty goal. And so fantastic play from Shipp and Bruin there. Thought throughout the match, Houston just made it easy for Seattle. Thought that they were predictable. They weren't really dangerous. And, you know, it's tough. Houston came in missing a number of players, already down 2-0. But I thought that they just lacked any sort of bite or attacking sort of cohesion, and that was just disappointing to see. Ultimately, Seattle by far the better team in the series and deserved to go through. It's tough to really judge Seattle, you know, looking ahead a little bit to the match with Toronto. They've been absolutely dominant in the Western Conference, haven't conceded a goal this entire playoff run, but the West was weaker this year. Toronto's definitely had tougher matchups, been challenged throughout the year, and ultimately I think Toronto has the more depth and more talented roster, but it's going to be a hell of a match. So I'm really looking forward to, you know, rematch of last year's final and all of that. I do just want to shout out, I know Twellman mentioned it, but it hadn't crossed my mind until tonight. If this was DeMarcus Beasley's last match, I just want to say he's had a fantastic career, incredible servant for the U.S. men's national team, played all over the world, an incredible player, and I just want to say congrats. I hope it wasn't his last match, but if it was, congrats DeMarcus on a fantastic career. With that, that is my recap of the Seattle-Houston second leg match. What's today? Thursday, November 30th. I hope you liked my analysis. If you agree, disagree, let me know in the comments section. If there's anything I missed, let me know. And with that, that is it. I will do another recap for the MLS Cup final next week. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and I will talk to you soon. See you, everyone. Bye.